remember this still vividly. It was this S-Grail event that they also facilitate. And they told me, Rosa, just for you to know, Sofia Villafania, she's going to do the 360 this year, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah, just so you know. And also Morgan and Caro and G and Danny and all the other girls, they're all doing the 360. And by the way, it's the only live streamed distance. And I was like, really? And I mean, they were like, yeah, no, we really want to make it our main event.
Recording. Hello, everyone. We are joined by this week, not just by a previous Unbound winner, but we now can say the current Tracker 360 winner. Welcome to the pod, Rosa Closer. I just say
thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No, it's good to be here. Where in the world are you right now?
I'm in Andorra in the mountains. Actually, I am probably at the place that Danny has been at a couple of weeks back, just like 20 meters next to the flat that she was staying in.
Oh, you moved into that flat now?
Yes, I actually did. Yeah. So that's a pretty good fun fact, I think, to start off with. Because, Danny and I, we bumped into each other in Andorra while I was on an apartment visit, and she was just leaving the door from the place that she was staying in. So, yeah, that was pretty random.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to start on, is obviously living this Andorra lifestyle. We kind of spoke about it a bit when we were there, because Andorra is the most beautiful place, but sometimes it can be, some of the buildings are quite dark, and when you're there training, you can't just walk to a cafe. So it's literally like train, then you're in a dark department. You can actually get a bit depressed, can't you?
No, really. And honestly, I think this was something we talked about. And I was so happy when you were like, no, I totally get you. Because, as I told Danny, when I met her, and that's why I was kind of apartment hunting, my old place, it's one of these mountain apartments, where, you would stay at for skiing, I would say. And they have these shutters, these blenders, to keep the light out. But I think because of the high winds in Andorra in the mountains, the landlord decided to drill those blinders on, I told Danny. So actually the flat was completely dark. Can you imagine this? So you live there like a vampire. I told her, after a couple of days in the flat, I always started feeling not happy anymore. So no, I'm super happy I moved.
Oh, that's good. It's crazy what a bit of sunlight can do for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's mental.
Wait, so do you live in Andorra full time now?
Yes.
Or just for the summer?
No, I also stayed here a couple of weeks in the winter, but of course, as cyclists, if it gets too rough here in the mountains, then I do switch in between, traveling to Germany, catching up with my boyfriend also sometimes in Girona. And then I also actually in the early season, I do actually have a lot of training camp. I realized that I was 4 weeks at training camp between January and March. So then I didn't spend so much time in Andorra, but usually now from this year on, it was also the plan to be here pretty much full time, yeah.
It's crazy because people say, where do you live? And it's I have a base here, but then it's just
I think you can relate very much, Danny. I think I feel like I travel a lot, but I mean, I think you're definitely up there. You're up there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we can talk about your schedule, because maybe we'll start with the current event, the Tracker 360. Obviously, sure everyone saw that and listening to this knows that you won that event. But talk us through it a bit going into that, because you done the 200 the year before. What made you go for the 360?
Oh, and now we lost Grace. Yeah, so Tracker 360, I think you're a veteran, we could say, at this point of the event. You've been one of the smart ones to go for it, I think, kind of from the start. I don't know if you've ever done the 200 before this year.
Yeah, I know. Never
we can also talk about this. So I think it was honestly already last year that I was kind of on the verge between doing the 200 and the 360. But honestly, last year I thought like, okay, I looked at the start list, and from my perspective at that point, there was still more girls doing the 200. So that was kind of like, to be honest, the decision why I went for the 200. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
And then, I think right after the Gravel Earth series ended last year, I remember after Rung Show, I had a nice chat with Gerard and Chris, and they told me like kind of about their vision with the Gravel Earth series, and that for them, of course, Tracker is like the flagship event, right? I mean, I guess that's the reason why like now a lot of the races are called by the Tracker. Like it's the flagship event of the Gravel Earth series. And they actually told me, I remember this vividly, it was this S-Grail event that they also facilitate. And they told me, Rosa, just for you to know, Sofia Bijafania, she's going to do the 360 this year, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Just so you know. And also Morgan and Caro and G and Danny and all the other girls, they're all doing the 360. And by the way, it's the only live streamed
really?
distance. And I was like, really? And I mean, they were like, no, we really want to make it our main event. And then I was like, still like, because to be honest, last year I really enjoyed that I could race on Saturday the 200, and my partner Pop, he was racing the 360 on the Friday, so I could support him. And I felt like I was so nervous, like following his race. He was doing super well. He was in a breakaway and like at one point even leading the race. So I was like, for me, it was such an exciting thing to like follow his race. So I actually kind of like that he had his day, I had my day. But then, I don't know. Then I actually, honestly, I started talking to Morgan a lot. And she told me, Rosa, I'm also switching to the 360. I really feel like now, it's becoming the main event. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Then I also do the 360.
I love that.
And embrace it. And to be honest, it was also partly due to the course, because my partner, he actually told me, because then we always had to separate when we were doing recons, because the 360 is way longer.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, I have to say, the 200 is nice, but the course of the 360 is freaking nice. Like,
isn't it stunning? When you get out to like Figueres Way, that mountain range bit is my favorite. It's like,
it really is.
Like the 200 special, but in reality, you're just going up and down L's all different ways.
Exactly. And it's like, it's these parts, like maybe for someone like, let's say Grace would say she's coming to Girona, I would tell her, hey, go to Figueres. That's where you should go and like experience gravel, This is like the beautiful parts of it. So I think, in the end of the day, in the race, of course, you can't like embrace the beauty of the course. I mean, the people that say that they do, for me, they're lying. But like, or they're not pushing hard enough. I don't know. But still, like, there's so much preparation around the event, the recons you do before, et cetera, et cetera. And being able to ride these beautiful tracks and descend these amazing downhills that are really long. I mean, I think it's just so much fun. And then, to be honest, I really like Gerard and Chris, and for them, it seemed to be like nice if I would join the 360. So I was like, let's
do you
go.
think, out of interest, do you think they should almost just make the all pros should do the 360 to make it that flagship, and then allow the amateurs to have obviously an age group in 360, but the amateurs also do the 200s. But if they want to make it that flagship event, then maybe it needs to be combined? Or what's your view on that?
Yeah, actually, yes, my view on this is like this. I think especially, and I think you would agree on this, Danny, especially in the women's field, I think it would be so nice if all of us would do the same distance. Because then we would have like a large peloton of maybe 80, 90, actually like an unbound sized field, honestly, if you combine it. And it could become really like this flagship event. But I think really by hi Esma, we're talking about the Tracker 360. So by combining, I think the two races into one and having like one main peloton, I think it would give the event the final bit of prestige to be like maybe the biggest race next to Unbound.
Exactly. Because that's what you have at the minute, don't you? You have this Unbound and Tracker comparison, but you can't quite compare it yet. Because at Unbound, all the top girls are together, whereas at Tracker, there's this split when everyone's trying to work out what is the prestige one. But I think if we all keep entering it and all keep rocking up to it, then hopefully that will happen. But what about, let's talk us through the race itself then. I mean, obviously I was sat at home on the couch crying. No, I'm joking.
Can we super quickly, before I talk about my race, like just really quickly talk about why you weren't there? Like I haven't, like, I mean, I saw of course your post, but like, can you just like tell us like what happened exactly and like how we got to you racing the 200?
Oh, I know.
Crazy. Because she's insane.
Oh yeah, a bit. So I mean, I had a lot of stresses going on outside that I can't really talk about right now. But that was kind of separate to that. I was still going to get to the start line, what happened, whatever with that. But then I got on, I think it was the Tuesday night, I just started throwing up in the night out of nowhere, just throwing up. And I was like, okay, that was rough. Then the next day I was trying to eat. I was like talking to my nutritionist. He was like, just eat bread, eat what you can do, anything white, rice, cookies. And I was trying and I just wasn't holding any food down. So then I got to Thursday and during the day I started feeling a bit better. And that whole afternoon I was holding food down. So I was like, do you know what? I'm waking up. And if I feel okay in the night, I'm doing the 360. That night, my stomach was so loud that it woke Brad up with like the growling. And it was like the worst night of the week. But I woke up, I had 3 hours sleep and I woke up and I was trying to eat rice. And then it was actually Brad that was like, you're actually an idiot if you're going to go on that start line. And you know, and you're like, do you know what? Like it's the level and everything now, if you're not at your peak, there's kind of like no point 100%. Showing up. But so that's why I was just like, I was so gutted because the 360 is like, I love that race so much. But I said, right, I was kind of so fed up of being in Tracker, not being able to ride my bike that whole week, that I was like, if I'm okay today, I'm getting up and I'm just riding the 200, I'm not racing it. But obviously it's hard, isn't it, when it is a race. So that I actually slept pretty good and I woke up and I was like, right, I'm getting on that start line. And I started, and I was actually going pretty well. I was in a group for top 10, but I just couldn't eat on the bike. So I was like, I just literally blew and then just rode to the finish. But I was just happy. Honestly, I was just happy to ride my bike. That was when like the mentality changed and it was like, you're just doing this for yourself now because you want to be on your bike. And they were super sad. But there's next year.
Hey, good on you. Good on you for showing up.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if training camps, because another girl got sick too. Wait, so 2 weeks before a race.
It turned out that a lot of people on our Rafford training camp got this. So we had some
Claire told me.
So basically the first thing Rafa said was, we are so sorry, we're never doing it pre-Tracker again. But like I think
honestly, guys, when I saw the training camp, I was a bit jealous because actually the food looked insane that you guys shared.
It was insane.
And everything looked so vibey and like so cool. And I was like, but I know myself. I would be like, this is like 5 days prior to the event, I'd be so stressed. Like, I don't know.
Also, I feel like Americans always get sick in Spain. Like what? Like
I think
every
someone
time
must have bought it, either just been sick before they came or something. But yeah, it was like it was like we were like tumbleweed throughout the week, just all of us going down with it. So in hindsight, I mean, I've gone through it in my head a million times, said how stupid I am and everything, but at the end of the day, you just gotta suck it up and get over it. So
I mean, in the end of the day, we also have to be honest. In the end of the day, being a professional gravel athlete includes being present at your 100%. Sponsor events, right? So it's 100%. Like not just one part of the equation. Of course, like in the end, you're a performance athlete and you're expected to perform at the events, but equally so, you should be at the activations from your sponsor. So it's like a really fine balance, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think Rafa definitely after that were like, we're sorry, but it's obviously it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
But it's okay. We'll we've learned that for next year.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your race. I mean, from the start, like you guys were setting this pace. Just take us through it for you.
Yeah, so maybe we can start with so we arrived at the start line, and I still vividly remember that like there were some girls, some I knew, but some I also didn't know, who were like, hey Rosa, where's our start box? And I was like, I don't know where our start box is. The reason why I'm saying this is because there was a little hiccup, I would say, at the start of the 360, where I think the idea was that the women elite riders would take the start box of the men elite riders once they left.
Yeah.
And then we would just, from the side enter into the empty start box and then depart after the men elite. But what actually happened is the men elite, they left. And I so vividly remember standing next to the box and looking into Morgan's face. So you have to imagine, so Morgan Aguirre, she was like with her back towards the start. And I was looking at the start box and I'm like, Morgan, why are all these people leaving and why is there women leaving? And I'm like panicking, guys. I'm at this point, like, because it was the first time doing the 360. I'm like, did I mess something up? What's happening? Why are there women leaving? Like, what is going on? So I'm starting to realize the amateurs or like the age groupers, they are starting to leave. But actually the age groupers were supposed to leave 10 minutes after the women and 20 minutes after the elite men. So guess what happened? I think someone didn't close the start box. Put the tape. So all the amateurs
and like once one person goes, they're all going.
They're going. At one point, though, I start seeing people turn around, go back into the start box because they must have been told off, But not, of course, not everyone. So from what I'm understanding now, around 300 of like 1,000 left. The other 700 returned.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like
crazy carnage.
But that's what my friend was in that amateur race, and he said he went to wait, but then all of the people he's racing against went. Left. So he's obviously like, well, why should I wait when they've all gone? I'm racing them.
Group think.
So it's like this herd behavior. Everyone's going crazy. And then I was even told, like, by my boyfriend who was racing the elite category, they were stopped at the roundabout. So the elite men were stopped because they tried to get the amateurs back to the start. But then the amateurs started swamping the elite men.
Oh no.
And then it was like this full flag catastrophe. And then they were just like, elite men, just leave. Amateur people wait for a second and then they just went off.
But and then to paint the picture, it's dark as well, isn't it?
It's dark.
And the roads are narrow.
Oh, true.
Guys, it's dark.
Yeah, that sounds like honestly, a logistical nightmare.
Yes. And to be honest, I wasn't aware how dark it was because, I never raced this distance before. But luckily, my boyfriend was like, no, Rosa, you cannot absolutely not be a weight weenie here. You have to take a proper light. Like, you have to put proper lights 100%. On. Like, your first descent will be in the dark. Like, put proper lights.
You'll make up time by having a heavier light and being able to descend fast. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. So I put like really proper lights and everything. So anyways, fast forward, actually our start wasn't affected because, they left 20 minutes early. So, okay, they were clear. So we started going. And then the first time I really then again realized that they were there was then on the climb, because so the Tracker 360 kind of started this year with like this small tarmac climb, and then it goes into a gravel climb. And then, on the gravel climb, I could see the first amateurs stopping for a little pee after 30 minutes.
That's hilarious.
I was actually enjoying it. It's like, that's good. They're having hilarious. A great day. Yep. And then we kept pushing. And to be honest, in hindsight, I said like, I think maybe not everyone in the 360 liked it that much, but I decided, okay, I want to open the race early. I don't want to wait around and ride with a big group for a long time. I want to have like a small select group from pretty much the start, so that we can ride safe and efficiently. And I think in the end, I would say I think that was a really good decision, because I remember like the gravel climb, it kind of at the end really pitches up. It's like quite steep. And there I just decided to put in a little bit of a dig. And I remember when I came over the top that Axel Dubois-Provot, who was with me at this point, she just said, "We're only 3. French. I hope you heard that.
Very good.
So she said, "We're only 3 people." It's like, okay, let's go. So we kept going. And then actually, once we started descending, and in that regard, I think it was good to put the pace up, because of course now there were some amateur riders descending at that point.
And that descent is pretty sketchy, that first one off of Els.
Yes.
Anyway.
In the dark.
Yeah. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was really good, because then at least the group was split by force, instead of, because I think it would have been super shit if we would have arrived with a peloton of 40 people into this descent, and then the group would have been split just because there was people we had to pass, that would have been really annoying. But then, in the end, it was all good. And I will say most amateurs, I want to give a really big shout out. They were super respectful. Some were like, even when they saw us coming, they were even shouting like, "Elite women coming." So most, I would say, of course, there's always, a few people, you can't do anything about it. But I will say most of the people were actually really respectful. And I think that's really to be appreciated. Yeah, anyways, so after the first climb, we were first only 3. And then actually Danni Shrosbree, she came back to us on this Els an Gels descent. And then we were with 4. But then actually quite soon after that small road descent, there comes another climb. And after that climb, G was a little bit distant again, and then we were only 3 again. And then actually we kept riding together. I think here and there we had to, slow down because of some single trail coming up and some amateurs were like taking that single trail. But in the end, to be honest, all of us girls had to deal with it. So I don't want to complain about it, but of course it wasn't ideal. But that was just the situation in the race. And so after 60K, actually, I was pretty impressed because G actually managed. So that was basically the first major climbing section done. And G managed to come back to us. And I told her afterwards, I think the amount of times I said in my head, if it wasn't G, I wouldn't believe that she came back. No, she's a really strong rider on the flat, especially. And I think she also has a good mindset of, always pushing and keeping the gas on the pedals. So she managed to come back. And so we were a group of 4 riders for a while then, and we worked together well. And then I think the next important section of the race was, I think, at kilometer 75-ish.
Oh, yeah.
70.
That bit's a bit chaotic, isn't it? It's like chunky.
It's like, exactly. It's really chunky. It's like an uphill kind of draggy climb. It's not super steep, but it's really, as you said, Danny, like super chunky, loose rocks, and you kind of want to really be able to see your line. And I still vividly remember like how all 4 of us were like kind of like, fighting a little bit to be in that first wheel. And then I think it was me and Caro who were like really like kept on like kind of fighting for this first position. position. But then at one point I was like, okay, before, because we were like handlebar to handlebar, and I was like, okay, I'll let her, lead. And she was going ahead of me, and I will say I'm definitely a rider that in the past has made many mistakes on these kind of climbs in terms of being too hectic, being too concerned to be right on the wheel, to not let a person go. But I think this is something maybe I learned a little bit now over like the past seasons, that on these types of climbs or technical sections, it's definitely better to keep a little bit of distance, because in the end of the day, you have no draft, and if something happens, this is your security kind of.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And there, like, I really was like, afterwards, like, really like saying, whoo, good that you did this, because unfortunately, I think we were going uphill. As I said, like, it was super technical. It can happen. I think Caro just missed a stone in front of her, and she kind of like, I think lost her handlebar, just by like having
she
the
had
stone.
a cut on her face, didn't she? So she must have.
Yeah. So she kind of hit with her chest her handlebar like this, because she lost it, and then she went down on her face. And I remember that I had to come to a full stand behind her and clicked out with both feet, but luckily nothing happened to me. And G and Axel were charging past us on that climb, and I was like, "Oh no, that's not good." But luckily, I could see that Caro was like, "Of course, it's never nice if you crash." But she was like moving; she was about to get up, so I was like, "Okay, I can leave." So I was like, "Okay." Gotta chase those two down. So then put in a little bit of an effort, but luckily on the top of the climb, I was back with the two of them. And from there on, to be honest, the three of us, we were just rolling. I think, when you're in this position in such a big race like the Tracker 360 and you're left with three riders, it's like, now we go. Because then it's like podium position for everyone, right? Totally. So I think definitely. It's in the interest of every rider there.
We could see you were all vibing as well, because you were all waving to Sarah while she was filming. They're all in a good headspace right now.
Yeah, exactly. It was so nice. So Sarah Sturm, she was, I think, our little live reporter, I would say, at the Tracker 360. And she was always at the sidelines, and she was screaming some funny things at us and like really trying to hype us up. I even saw some videos afterwards that really cracked me, where like, so maybe fast forward, we went to the feed together. And then after the first feed zone, there's like the next major climbing section coming in the north in Figueres, which we talked about, this beautiful area. And this is where basically Axel and I managed to get clear of G, because I mean, as I just said, G is an amazing rider. She's so strong on the flat. So of course, if you can get an advantage on her on the climb, you will try to use this. So we got away from her there. And I remember coming down after the climb on the descent, and Sarah was standing somewhere again. And we were waving at Sarah, we were saying, hey, and she was like cheering us on. And then I saw a video afterwards, because G came behind us. And she was just screaming at G. She's like, G, you can get them. They're completely tired. They're broken. You can get them. It was so funny. And actually, me and Axel were both like waving at Sarah, like super cute.
It's such
so funny.
Yeah. I mean, but that race, after cute. This mountain section, there is this huge, like long flat section. I'd say, what is it, 70K? Yeah. And I do think this is this is like the biggest headfuck section of the race, because it actually is like unbound. It is just straight. I mean, a few windy bits.
Yes.
But I genuinely think that's mentally the toughest bit. And I think that's also the point about the peloton being split. It's so small that you are only in groups of 2s, 3s, 1s. Like, it's not like a huge peloton. So that section is rough.
So, yeah, exactly. And now imagine, Danny, there was a big headwind on this section. Of course. So I actually felt like I knew that, like, I mean, G on the flat, super strong rider, but I knew I was like, okay, alone, like that she's alone. mentally with the headwind.
No break.
That's a tough pill, to swallow. But I think she still put in a really good effort, and I think in the end closed down almost 2 minutes to us on the flat. So I think after the climbing section we had 4 minutes on her ish. And that's the thing with the tracker also, you never really know the gaps. There's maybe someone in the feed zone screaming at you something or from the side, but you can never trust these things.
Oh, no.
Do they put a moto in front of like the elite fields? Like, do you have a specific moto for like lead women?
Yes.
Okay.
We had a moto, I think for the first 3 riders or 3 groups,
right?
Basically, but of course they don't tell you shit.
They don't tell you any caps or anything.
They're just there.
They're literally there, just getting the content, aren't they?
Cool. Yeah. Cool. They are. So they will not communicate with you whatsoever. They basically almost ignore you.
So you mean you didn't have a team radio?
No.
I'm just joking.
I think actually that was also against the rules, hey?
Yeah,
but I heard that some riders apparently had it.
Oh, really? What, in that race?
But,
that's cheeky.
At Tracker?
Yeah. I think there was just some, how some rumors always spread that some riders were riding with like
becoming a thing, hey?
Or something. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I thought this. But in the end of the day, I think, okay, like, yes, I mean, it's nice if you know a gap, but if you're in a bigger group, I guess it's nice if you know a gap, because then otherwise people would probably play around. But I guess how the women's race played out in the end, as you said, Danny, after, so maybe we can jump ahead. Els Medges comes, it's the last major climb of the day. And I was like, okay, I don't want to sit around anymore. Axel and me, we were definitely working together on the flat, but also, I mean, we can acknowledge it. I'm a way taller, bigger rider than Axel. So naturally, like without even holding back or trying, I just ride faster on the flat. So for me, it was like, I was like honestly constantly stressed that G was coming back, because when I was giving a turn, I felt like we were probably going a little bit faster. And I was like, and I know how strong G is. I've been riding with her like in breakaways a couple of times before. So I was like, I want to keep going. And then we came to the last climb of the day, and then I just pushed really hard. And at one point I looked back and it was getting super steep. So actually the climb is a little bit undulating. It's like a 4.5, a little bit flat, and then a 4.5. And I think on the first 4.5, actually me and Axel, you could tell like the cooperation was going out. We were like kind of riding next to each other, and not really fully pushing, because at this point there was still draft, but I kind of think there was like kind of a respect thing that we were just like riding next to each other. And then when it got really steep, I guess everyone just pushed what they could. And at this point I could push more. And then I managed to get a gap. And from then I didn't look back, because I was like, okay, I know what Axel just did a week ago at Liège-Bastogne-Liège. I better get going now. She's definitely in good shape. And so I just pushed really hard. And I know that I'm also, quite good descender. So on the Els Medges descent, I just rode, controlled, but quite fast. And then, I kept going. And then it was honestly the first time I kind of knew-ish of a gap, where I was communicated 5 minutes, was with 20K to go. And in the end, it turned out that it was double the gap of that actually. So that's why I'm saying like, you can never trust what people on the sidelines tell you. And then I think it was just like that I really tried to commit a good pace that I knew that I could keep, but that was still like a good controlled max effort until I would say the last single track, because I was sure there, okay, I mean, maybe even if I ride this 30 seconds slower than I can, I am more safe by riding it slow, because that's last single track. I think, Danny, it was in your race as well, the 200.
It's not a fun single track.
But guys, like Grace and Esma, I don't know, like if you've done a European gravel race, this last single trail, I even said in training that could still like decide the race win. Like in terms of like, even if someone was like 10 minutes ahead.
Right.
Because there's so many stones and so many like little roots.
And
like,
it just disappears, some section of it. You could just go into the river.
Yeah. And like exactly, if you would like kind of take a wrong line, you would like land in the river. And I mean, I already have respect for everyone doing this in a 200-kilometer race at the end. But now,
at the end of a
imagine
360.
at the end of 360, you're like, if someone tells me that they're not mentally exhausted at that point, they are, I don't know who they are, but not human. And I just realized I really went through there like, I really took my time, but then in this way really managed to clear it like quite well. And afterwards, I actually talked to Lenny from Holy Spirit of Gravel, who commentated the live stream, and she told me in the top 10, because the other girls, some of them were much closer to each other. Like, for instance, I think fourth and fifth, they were only like 30 seconds apart. And then some people were like still like kind of like in the fight for a placing. So of course they had more like urgency to go through the single trail. So she told me almost everyone had to like stop 2 to 3 times in the single trail, because you're at this point just like so mentally exhausted. And if you then try to push it, you make mistakes, you know? But yeah, luckily I managed to clear it. And then honestly, the moment I really knew I won the race was only when I entered back like towards Girona onto like the finish line is this U-shaped grass section basically, and the moment I knew I had it was when I entered the grass, because I have some really bad experience in races where like I thought I had it. For instance, last year at European Championships, I really thought I had the win, and then I fled it with like 6K to go, and I made it to 400 meters to go on the flat tire, and I was overtaken in the last corner. So I know I will never be Lorena, because I never celebrate too early. Nope.
Yeah. It's never over till it's actually over.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
and it's mad, the like mental battles that you go through your head. Especially for you, probably in that last 10K, you're like, I think I've got it. But then you're like, I could flat, I could do this, I could do that. And I think that's just the chaos of gravel as well. Like, it really is never over until it's over.
No.
But yeah, I mean, huge congrats, because that was a ride.
So
it was very cool to watch. Let's talk a bit about, I mean, your calendar. Obviously, you're racing for Canyon SRAM on the road as well now. Like, how do you juggle all that? Like, do you have a clear calendar from the start, or do you kind of, because I mean, you see Axel do it as well, or do they just like add races? Like, I remember when we spoke in Andorra, you're like, oh, I'm going to Milan San Remo this weekend now. Like, how do you balance all that?
Yeah. I wish the answer was I wish I had a clear calendar. Unfortunately, this season it was not the case. So for me, you're absolutely, I think the words you used are very correct. It was a bit of a juggling. I have to honestly say that. So most races that I actually did this season, I was called, if I was, I don't want to say lucky, but 1 week in advance was usually early, and sometimes it was even more short notice. So of course I am super grateful for the opportunities, and that's why I also said almost yes to all of these opportunities, because I think it is a great learning opportunity. But in hindsight, of course, some of these races that I did then of course didn't allow me enough time to recover for other races, as you could, for instance, see in the US for the first round of the Lifetime Grand Prix. But on the other hand side, I think truly like, and that's something that I said to Sarah, I don't think as professionals, and I would actually be super interested interested to hear your perspective on it, Danni, because you've been like traveling a lot, like, you know, back and forth between the US and Europe, and maybe you actually have some advice for me. So that's why I'm asking. I think for me it was less so the racing, and I think I could technically, as a professional, I think you're able to maybe do a race, then recover and race again in 3 or 4 days. But for me, I think the major element was really like this international travel from Europe to the US, and then the time difference, and then
100%.
trying to adjust to it. And I know that people usually say they get jet lag on the way home, but I was jet lag on the way there. And I never had that before, but
That's
I was...
Yeah. I mean, I think my first experience of it all, and in all honesty, that's why Lifetime those few years ago, I had to pull out of, I think I was in 8th position after Unbound, and then it was Crusher and then Leadville, but I was working full time. I was on a road team full time, and then I was trying to do Lifetime, and I was trying to fly to the US 5 days before the race, do the race, get home. Some of these are at altitude, and it was just absolute burnout. And like you could say now, like I do travel a lot more still, like I don't have the job element, and I'm not racing on the road, but I do still have this chaotic calendar that I do just love racing it everywhere. But I am getting a lot stricter at looking at the travel, and like, do you know what? Spending a bit more on a flight that's going to work out for your pattern a bit better. It's stupid, but it's all these little things that actually make such a massive difference. But I will say, it's not the racing and everything you need to worry about for recovery. It's exactly what you said. It is the traveling, and it's big things like people try to say like set your watch on the time zone. That doesn't work for me. I try that, but it's just like, in all honesty, making sure you fuel properly. I think that's where I was getting it so wrong when I was doing all this traveling. I just wasn't eating enough to go. Like I'd train, then get on the flight, then get straight there, then I'd start training and stuff, and before you know it, you've actually missed a meal because of the time zone differences and things like that. So that, I mean, that's my biggest learning, I suppose. But I mean, it's very impressive to see what you did. Like, I mean, I know you're saying you're disappointed at Sea Otter, but you literally just done a 70k breakaway at Paris-Roubaix, which, by the way, was insane. Like, so cool to see. And then you still, what was it? Top 5 at Sea Otter?
Yeah, top 5 in the Lifetime Grand Prix, and I think 7th on the day. In the end, No, it was the Paris-Roubaix thing. I think that's a whole nother topic, right? Like that we could open now. I think the Bonk Babes is the perfect space for it. That was super cool. And this was one of those races. You know, I think. I really wanted to race it, but I also didn't really have the opportunity to say no. Let's say it like this, because it was I already had my flights booked to the US for the Sea Otter for the 10th, I think, and the race, the Paris-Roubaix, was on the 12th. And what didn't make it nicer is that actually Lufthansa, so a German airline company, they went on full strike mode that weekend.
No.
So basically, what happened is that I was sitting at the team bus, or in the team bus before the race of Roubaix, being in complete panic because they cancelled my flight for the next day, Monday, because the team said, okay, Rosa, if you make this commitment, you come and support us at this race, we will drive you in the night from Roubaix to Frankfurt, and then you can fly in the next midday to the US from Frankfurt. Okay, that was the plan. But then the flight was cancelled, and I was in so much stress because they said the strike is Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday would be the first flight. And I was like, if I fly Wednesday, I will arrive like Wednesday midnight or something, and the race would be 10 a.m. on Thursday. I was like, I don't know how I should do this. This is impossible. So I was like really literally like sitting like this in the team bus, like trying to call the airlines. And then somehow I managed to get rebooked on a flight from a different airline. And then I arrived, I think, Monday late night in San Francisco. So still 2 days to spare, which technically, I mean, it's not great, but to spare before the race. But then it was just me not sleeping for 3 nights, and I thought that I would become. I was starting to turn crazy. I am already a bit crazy, so that's not good. Yeah, but. That's what it is. Sometimes you can't change it. And I think this is also like what you said, Danni, now. I think sometimes you also have to, people can tell you so much, right? You cannot do this. You should not do this.
Yeah.
But in the end, you have to experience it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. What about, obviously, you're doing the road, you're doing the lifetime. How do they compare for you? Like jumping in and out from like the road team dynamic. And then you are obviously this privateer life still going strong. How does it compare for you? And is there elements that are you seeing gravel go more team as well, or like how? Yeah, from your point.
Yeah, I think it really depends. I definitely do see advantages for teams in gravel, especially for younger riders or riders entering the space new. Because I think, and maybe you can relate to this, Danni, people entering the gravel space, I would say the gravel space is a very intransparent space when it comes to sponsorships, when it comes to maybe even the events to target, when it comes to what really matters. And I think this takes a little bit of figuring out, maybe especially for younger person, or maybe also not such an extroverted person that maybe doesn't want to have a strong social media presence or public presence. So I think if these elements apply to you, I think being in this structure, in this infrastructure of a team environment can be super beneficial for you, especially as a starting point to learn and grow. On the other hand side, I think personally for me, I really enjoy being a privateer for the gravel, because this is, funnily enough, I actually talked to Kate Courtney about this, because she said, like, it's this freedom you buy yourself. Maybe on the one hand side, you do lack a few things. You do not have this infrastructure of maybe always having like a cook travel with you, a mechanic that takes care of your bikes, etc., etc. But you're much more free to determine your own schedule. You're more free to do your own races, because I do see that now with the Kenyan riders. They have amazing support, but they do have to do a certain number of races, where in some of the races that they do, they're like team races. I would personally not see them as target races for me individually, or I would not necessarily like to do those. And being able to be basically my own boss and making these decisions, I think for me is of such high value that I really appreciate being a privateer. I think in gravel, what we talked about also just before, I think it really depends on the races. I mean, I would lie if I wouldn't say that, of course, in one of the biggest races, Unbound, I totally see how a team can be of great benefit, right? Because draft matters so much. So there I definitely see these advantages of teams. Whereas then on the other hand side, one of the other big races, Straka, I mean, yes, I do see the advantages of a team. If you, for instance, look at the men's race, you could clearly see that it was partly won, the strongest rider won, but it was also partly won because he had a super strong teammate that supported him in his mission. But then again, you also need to see that his teammate is one of the best riders in the world also. So it's like, and I think I saw like an analysis. So if you have like a random team in gravel, maybe in races like Unbound that are flat, this can help you. But in these hard attritional races, if the teammates aren't almost on the level of the leader, it will not help you. It will not help you. So I think it will really depend. And I think we will see what will happen. I mean, I think definitely there will be more and more collectives, like kind of ish team situations, like where it's like partly privateer, partly team, just for the sake of, kind of spreading overhead costs, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I don't see like necessarily that we will have 16 UCI teams in the next 2 years. Maybe that's something that will happen in 5 years, but I don't think in the next 2.
No, definitely not. And for talking about these 2 races, like Paris-Roubaix and Unbound, I mean, so many people say when I first came into gravel, a lot of people said, "Oh, were you doing gravel because it's easier?" And I was like, gravel's pretty tough, actually. But for you on a personal level, obviously, you've been in Paris-Roubaix, you've been some of these races. How do the efforts for you compare? Or are they just so different? Because I suppose gravel's a lot like attritional because they're longer.
Yeah.
Effort-wise.
Well, I think it's so different. I mean, I will say, so the races I did this season so far, they were all more this classic style of character. So more of these races where it's really all about positioning, all about your 1, 2, 3 minute power kind of thing. About also having a strong team that puts you in good position at the right moment, and being smart, reading the race, saving energy at the start, and then doing a big effort like at that one point that really matters. Whereas in gravel, I feel like the effort is way more consistent over the day, like you said. So actually, I think. In the end, a lot of people say like, a gravel rider will be really good like at Strade and Roubaix in terms of like the surface. Yes, I see that like from a technical point of view. I see how I take the corners, where there's maybe some other people. But in the end, I actually think that for a gravel racer, of course it depends on the type of gravel racer, but more these stage races are almost more the effort that you do as a gravel rider, because you're so used to always being on the gas. And for instance, I still vividly remember the first time I did a stage race was last year with the team at Tour de Suisse. And I remember like on the 4th day, I was like,
Let's go.
Great. Like, let's go. And everyone was like, oh, no. And I was like, no, now we go. So like, I could really see that like over the days, and like with like actually the hard stages where there was a lot of elevation, constantly being on the gas, that I was like, now I feel like I am part of the thing that is going on here. I'm not just riding with, I'm actually like, part of the race. So I think, this is something I also had to learn, and I think I'm still learning what kind of rider I am, and also actually, I'm curious to see.
Yeah, when I think also that World Tour peloton, like people see people just getting to the front on TV, but it is so much harder when you're in that peloton and they're in your ear or something and being like, yep, just move up to the front, and you're stuck in that washing machine. Like it takes so many races to get that confidence and it's just such a bigger peloton. I suppose,
there's such a pecking order too, right? Like if you're one of the smaller teams or if you're not well known, it's like can be really tough to get where you want to be.
Which is why they're like getting the breakaway.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So definitely this, and also even if you look at this year's classic season, I talked to a few of my teammates. It's like the level in the women's World Tour peloton has increased over the past 3 years, like insane.
Yeah. Even watching the Vuelta and like how blown open
but it's so exciting to watch. That's why I love it. There's not like
so good
singular winner.
It was
like,
so
do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's
crazy. It's crazy. Like there's literally now in races, I'm looking at the starters, I'm like, these 10 people can win. Like, and you know, I mean, in men's cycling, you definitely don't have that. And then also, even like, as I said, like 3 years ago, you were like, Annemiek van Vleuten.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like just such a high level, but that also creates the situation. And that's something that my teammates also reflected on with me, where like now we're in a space that with the women's peloton, and that's, I think, something new for the women, we enter these critical key sections in the classics races literally with a peloton of 130 riders.
Yeah,
because the level just went up so crazy.
Cool.
Whereas they told me last year I did the same offer. We were like a group of 30. Now we're like 80. Like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
Like, yeah. So, and that's also why you could unfortunately see this classic season already. There were like some pretty big crashes.
Yeah.
And you can see you could always say like, oh, it's almost always the same person, or it's the new people, but it's not true. It's also like some of the really key riders like a Marlon Reusser, a Kim LeCourt, they also get caught up in crashes, you know?
for sure.
And then, so that's super unfortunate. But on the other hand side, it's part of the sport, eh?
No, it is amazing to see that the women's side grow. Everyone keep supporting, keep watching.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I'm conscious that you've got to go. So just before you do, obviously you've got a big year ahead of you. What is like your goals for this year? And will you be going to the UCI Worlds, or is that dependent on like lifetime stuff?
No, I will do the UCI Worlds. I can say that. No, definitely, it's a big goal of mine. So yeah, as you know, the UCI Worlds will take place in Australia. I mean, first of all, a trip to Australia is never
Why not?
Done. Why not? Could be amazing. It's. I will say though, it is a pity that it overlaps with one of the Lifetime Grand Prix races. And I feel like at this stage, I do understand that the Lifetime Grand Prix race was there first. But at this stage, I feel like there's so many people in the Lifetime Grand Prix who are actually competitive at the international level and who could be competitive at something like the UCI World Championship. Wouldn't you, as Lifetime, want to have the world champion in the cohort next year? Maybe. Yeah. So I think that's something to think about, definitely. And I really truly hope that they can find like a solution there to better align on the dates. But yeah, the UCI World Champs, I know it's an extremely ambitious undertaking, but I think if you don't dream, you've got to have these goals on top.
And I think you've proved, Rosa, that you're more than capable of being there. So keep chasing your dreams. And thanks for coming on our
Thank
pod.
you so much, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel like I talked a lot.
We could chat. Yeah. I feel like we could do a 2-hour
part 2
chat. We could do a part 2. Yeah. Maybe we could do a Post Unbound part 2. Yeah. Or something.
We will be fun.
Thank you.